Okay, now we start the lesson on the construction of a sharp major scale. This is where you're going to utilize the piano keyboard, which we talked about. You're going to utilize your knowledge on tones and semitones, because a scale is a specific structure that we can recreate on any note of the piano. And this is where we get our keys and key signatures, which will come later. For the most part, let's just find out what is a major scale. Well, it just so happens that the piano keyboard was constructed specifically on the premise of the major scale. So therefore, let's find out its structure. Between C and D is a tone, which we'll use the symbol T. So between C and D is a tone. Why? Because there's a black key in between. C to C sharp is a semitone, to D is another semitone, so that makes it, two semitones make a tone. Between D and E, we know, is a tone, because again, there's a black key. Between E and F, there is no black key, so that is a semitone. Between F and G, that is a tone, because there's a black key in between. Therefore, between G and A is also a tone. Between A and B is a tone, because there's a black key between it. Between B and C is a semitone, because there is no black key. So therefore, we can now conclude that the structure of a major scale is, the structure of a major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Well, lo and behold, take a look at the structure of a major scale. It's two T's and a semitone, three tones and a semitone. Well, take a look at the piano keyboard. Two black keys and a semitone, three black keys and a semitone. So it's easy to remember the structure of a major scale because it's based on the piano keyboard. Again, two tones and a semitone, three tones and a semitone. That is the structure of a major scale. So here it is, the C major scales, we write it. Between C and D is a tone, D and E is a tone, E and F is a semitone, F and G is a tone, G and A is a tone, A to B is a tone, and B to C is a semitone. Now if we take that structure then, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and apply it to any note on the piano, we will end up with a major scale. Everyone remembers what a major scale sounds like. If you alter that structure in any way, it will no longer be a major scale. Tone, tone. If we put a tone, 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 we get a totally different scale. Okay, so remember, it has to be tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone when we apply it to any note, and then we will get a major scale. So, let's go on to the next one. Now, on your assignment, everything is in a specified order. There is nothing that is written there as chance. And the one thing you have to remember is that since music is based upon math, then it shouldn't be surprising that you'll probably run into some type of pattern if you do this correctly. Once you recognize that pattern, you can save yourself a lot of time and energy when you recognize the pattern and then apply it. In order to be able to recognize a pattern, then you have to at least have two, if not at least three samples that will then help you to determine what that particular sequence of events is, and you can then anticipate what the next one's going to be. Here's a perfect example in math. If you have 1, I better write this later, 1, 2, 4. Now you can start seeing a pattern, but that establishes what the pattern is. From that point on, you can then come up with the next three parts that will be that pattern. 1 to 2, 2 to 4. Well, what is it? Well, that's plus 1. 2 to 4 is plus 2. 4 to 7, plus 3. Aha! So we then know the next one is going to be plus 4, which makes it 11. Plus 5, which will make it 16. Plus 6, which will make it 22, and so on. But we had to find the pattern first. But once we saw that pattern, then we could conclude what the next ones were going to be. And the same thing exists in theory. You have to be able to see a pattern. Now, I'm not going to give you that pattern in this video. However, I am going to give you the means to discover what that pattern is through the basic process of constructing a major scale. So, we already know that the C major scale, that's the first scale on your assignment. You write, I've already given you the first note. It's in 4/4 time. So you have to make sure that there are 4 beats in a bar, which means then if you write as quarter notes, there will be 4 notes. If I've already written 1 in each bar at the beginning and end of the bar, then you know you only have 3 more to put in. So remember that. Don't put 4 more in. There should only be 4 beats in every bar. And be careful of your stem direction. So C, next space D, next line E, next space F, G, next line, A, next space. And then I wrote the stem going down on the note B. Why? Because it makes it look nice. There are 2 going up and 2 going down. That's the only reason I did it, so it looks nice, all right? If you decided to write the stem B going up, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? That's just an aesthetic preference on my part. And then I write it going back down the exact same way. I make sure that I indicate at the beginning tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So I have to write the notes of the scale. You don't need to know what sharps do I need to put in. Remember, this particular assignment is constructing a sharp major scale. There will be no flats whatsoever. Sharps only, wherever they're needed. Now, in the C major scale, then we need to understand that let's make a conclusion here then. It's the basis of major scales. So therefore, C major has no sharps or flats. C major is the beginning. It has 0. No sharps, no flats. And then you simply copy that in the bass clef starting on the appropriate note. Remember, a scale must always start on the name of the scale. So if it's called C major, then it must start on the note C. Remember that. That's where it derives its name. It's from the note that it starts on. In the bass clef, we start on the note C, which is in the second space. We write every other line and space, line and space, line and space, line until we get to the beginning note again, which is the note C. Remember, it only takes 8 notes to make a scale because the first note and the last note will be the same note. It may not be in the same place, but that doesn't matter. That's still the note C, and that's still the note C. It starts on C, it ends on C. That's what makes it a C major scale. Now, if you notice in your assignment, the next one is G major, and that's not an accident, and remember that. So in G major, we have to put in tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, because that is the structure of a major scale. We have to comply with that structure. And I write it only in the ascending version of the scale because once I have that figured out, all I do is just copy that accidental, if there is one, into each of these scales. I don't need to figure it out again. Once I figured it out in the ascending version, it's going to be the same in the descending version. I just have to make sure I put the sharp on whatever note is going to be sharp to make it a G major scale. So, we look at our piano keyboard. Now I'm going to bounce back and forth, but just let's do it. From G to A has to be a tone. It is. This is the structure of a major scale. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So G to A is a tone. Good. A to B has to be a tone. It is. From B to C must be a semitone. Remember, tone, tone, semitone. And it is, so I don't have to do anything. From C to D, is that a tone? Yes. From D to E, is that a tone? Good. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. Next one must be a tone. From E to F must be a tone. Oops, it's not. From E to F, sharp is a tone. So we have to write that in. So on the note F sharp, we have to write a sharp. And it must come before the note. It must be on the same line as the note or space that I'm indicating. This is the note F. Therefore, making sure the line goes right through the middle of it. The sharp has to come first, because that tells us the name of the note. The note itself tells us how long to hold it for. Again, sharp first, then the note. And if I've done this right, because I can't change the last note, it's called G major scale. It starts in G and ends on G. I can't change those notes. So from F sharp to G must be a semitone if I have done this right. So let's see. From F sharp to G, yes, it is a semitone. So therefore, I've done it correctly. So therefore, I must put G sharp on the appropriate note. Again, G sharp on the appropriate note, G sharp on the appropriate note, and there. I have now finished the G major scale. There it is. It has one sharp, F sharp. Now these are all pertinent pieces of information that you need to note. First of all, C major had 0. G major has one sharp, F sharp. Okay? And the missing sharp, the sharp I was looking for, where was it? It was on the 7th note. Okay? Remember that. Now remember, 7 is a church number. It's not an accident that that occurred. And remember that. So G major has one sharp, F sharp. Now if I take a look at this, C major had 0, G major had 1. So the next scale, which is called D major, what would you conclude the number of sharps it might have if it sticks to this pattern? If it went 0, 1, what do you think the next one will have? Possibly 2. We don't know that yet for sure, but that's something we're presuming and we're going to see when we do the D major scale. Okay, so we've discovered up to this point, first of all, that the structure of a major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. The same as a piano keyboard. 2 black keys, semitone, 3 black keys, semitone. We then applied that to the C major scale. It became the structure of a major scale. C major has no sharps, no flats. Then we did the G major scale. And we discovered that the next key had one sharp, which happened to be F sharp, which was the 7th note of the scale. So we went from 0 sharp to 1 sharp. So I asked you, what would be your conclusion about the next one? Well, we're presuming that, okay, it probably has 2 sharps. Well, that's a presumption on our part. We don't know that for sure, but we're just speculating that maybe it'll have 2 sharps. Well, let's find out. Starting on the note D. Remember, the structure of a major scale is tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone. If we do it correctly. So therefore, from D to E must be a tone. It is. From E to F must be a tone. No, it's not. From E to F sharp. Ah, that is a tone. So I have to make the F sharp. Well, isn't that interesting? F sharp was the sharp we discovered in the last scale, which was the G major scale. It had one sharp, F sharp. Well, it turns out the D major also has that sharp. Well, let's see what happens next. So from F sharp to G must be a semitone. That's correct. From G to A must be a tone. That's correct. From A to B must be a tone. Good, that's correct. From B to C must be a tone. No, it's not. From B to C sharp is a tone. All right, so we have to make the C sharp. And if we've done it right, then from C sharp to D has to be a semitone. And it is, so we did it right. So we're right. D major does have 2 sharps. That speculation on our part was correct. And the 2 sharps are F sharp, which happened to be the sharp we discovered in the G major scale, and the new sharp, which is C sharp. Oh, and look at that. The missing sharp is on the 7th note again. All right, so we're starting to see that these scales are in numerical order. 2, that what we've seen so far is that whatever the sharp is in the previous scale also will be in the scale which follows. Well, let's see if that's true, because if that's the case, then we should be able to presume that in A major, which is the next scale, it should have 3 sharps, and 2 of those sharps should be F sharp and C sharp. Well, let's find out. From A to B has to be a tone, remember? Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. No matter what note we start on, That's the structure we have to adhere to. So A to B has to be a tone. B to C has to be a tone. It's not. C sharp from B to C sharp. That is a tone. Aha! So we've already discovered that one of those sharps is in this sequence. All right, so let's continue on. From C sharp to D has to be a semitone because it's tone, tone, semitone. C sharp to D is a semitone. Good. D to E is a tone. That's correct. E to F has to be a tone. Now it's F sharp. Aha! There's one of the sharps we had in the previous scale. So both sharps do appear in this scale. Now, think about it for a minute. Where did we find the missing sharp in G major scale? And when it had one sharp, it was on the 7th note, F sharp. When we did the D major scale, F sharp was one of the sharps. Where did we find the missing sharp? On the 7th note. If that's the case, then the missing sharp in this scale, we've got F and C sharp, the missing sharp should be the 7th note, which in this case is G sharp. Let's find out. From F sharp to G has to be a tone. Well, it's not. F sharp to G sharp is a tone. So we just proved our hypothesis. It is correct. The missing sharp is the 7th note again. All we had to do was carry the two sharps from the previous one, and the missing sharp will be the 7th note. The one thing I failed to put down here, ladies and gentlemen, is that in your D major scale, don't forget to put the sharps in the ascending form as well. So F and C sharp have to be sharp. In the bass clef, exactly the same place. F sharp and C sharp. Going backwards, C sharp and F sharp. Notice when you draw ledger lines, make sure that the line stays as one single plane. In other words, when you're indicating a ledger line, all you're doing is extending the staff the same distance as the spacing between these lines. Please be careful that you don't write your ledger lines way up here because the brain actually sees the line that you missed. It actually sees it, and therefore you'll read it incorrectly. Keep the space the same when you're writing, and then keep that line in the same place as you extend the staff up and down. Don't go writing A here and then write C here. The brain will see that as both the note C. So be very careful how you write your ledger lines. It comes with practice. So A major, we conclude, has three sharps. They are F, C, and G sharp. So we put those sharps in the descending form of the scale, and then in the bass clef, again, there's C sharp, there's F sharp, there's G sharp, G sharp, F sharp, C sharp. So in conclusion now, what have we discovered? We've discovered it's sequential. C major had 0 sharps. G major had 1 sharp, F sharp, which was the 7th note of the scale. That's what the missing sharp we discovered. D major had the F sharp as well, and plus 1 more, which happened to again be the 7th note, C sharp. In A major, we then concluded, okay, if C had 0, G had 1, D had 2, then A must have 3. And when we looked at it, we found out, yes, it has F and C sharp, same as D major, plus 1, and that one missing one was on the 7th note again. So when you go to do E major, then what are you going to conclude? How many sharps is it going to have? Well, hopefully one more than the one before it. And it'll have these 3 sharps, F, C, and G sharp, plus 1, and that missing one is going to be the 7th note. And if you understand this concept, well, then you'll be able to figure out all of them from this point on without doing tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone. Just use the sequence of events which is happening here. The numerical order. The fact that whatever the sharps are before are carried in to the next scale, plus 1. That one will always be the 7th note. The other thing you should take note of, what was the name of the first key? C major. Well, there it is, C sharp. What was the name of the second key? G major. Take a look what the next sharp is. And so forth. Again, if you recognize these patterns, it'll make it so easy to do the assignment. Good luck.